opioid abuse in the United States.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats.
That day, and he says his military records and...
Gotta give him that hot and spit on that thing.
Throughout history, great civilizations have risen to incredible heights, only to fall into decline and eventual collapse. While many believe the fall of Rome was a unique event, striking parallels can be drawn to the modern United States. So I have identified 13 similarities to what happened during the decline of the Roman Empire and what is currently happening in the United States of America. From economic instability and rampant inequality to cultural decay and military overreach, the lessons of Rome's decline offer a chilling warning for the present. But how deep do these similarities go? And what can we learn before it's too late? Stick around as we unravel the surprising parallels between the fall of ancient Rome and the challenges currently facing the United States of America. The Romans gradually devalued their currency over time by reducing the silver content in their coins, often replacing it with cheaper metals like copper. Now, this debasement led to rampant inflation, eroding the value of money and severely undermining economic stability. The problem became particularly severe during the 3rd century, where repeated devaluations coupled with excessive minting to pay for military expenses contributed significantly to the 3rd century crisis, which is a period marked by economic turmoil, political instability, and societal decline across the empire. The US has faced similar issues with currency devaluation, notably through the Federal Reserve's quantitative easing and the mass printing of dollars, especially after the 2008 financial crisis and also during the COVID-19 pandemic. Excessive money printing like this has led to rapid inflation, raising the prices of assets such as real estate, stocks, and hard assets like gold and silver. This helps the rich get richer as they own most of the assets. Additionally, inflation causes the prices of everyday items such as food, oil, and utilities. This, combined with wage stagflation, is causing many Americans to struggle to make basic ends meet. Now, this expands into point number 2. People often think that Rome was rich, but in reality, land and resources were concentrated in the hands of a few elite families, while the majority of the population lived in poverty. This led to anger in the 99% of the population who were struggling to survive in a city where they could see the wealth of the elites displayed in front of their eyes. Wealth inequality in the US is at record levels, with the top 1% of the population owning more wealth than the bottom 90%. Now, in every society in history, there has always been those with wealth and those without wealth. But you can measure the greatness of a society by how many of its people are in the middle class. Both Rome and the US were originally successful because of the social mobility they once possessed. America today, like Rome in the past, is failing due to the erosion of the middle class. Rome's economy shifted from production and agriculture to a reliance on imported goods and services, particularly during the late Republic and early Empire periods. Now, this shift was driven by the wealth influx from conquered territories and the growth of luxury consumption among the elite, which prioritized exotic imports such as grain from Egypt, spices from India, and silk from China. As a result, local industries, including small-scale farming and artisan crafts, struggled to compete with cheaper or more prestigious foreign goods. This economic change weakened Rome's self-sufficiency, making it increasingly dependent on external resources and vulnerable to disruptions in trade, which later contributed to economic instability and the decline of the empire. The US has shifted from a manufacturing-based economy to one dominated by services, with key industries such as finance, technology, and entertainment taking precedence, while much of its production is outsourced to countries like China, Mexico, and other low-cost regions. This transition was driven by the pursuit of cheaper labor and production costs abroad, leading to the decline of American jobs. Additionally, this reliance on overseas production contributes to trade imbalances and can affect economic stability, making the US economy susceptible to geopolitical tensions, trade wars, and fluctuations in global market conditions. Rome experienced declining birth rates, partly due to changing social norms like the preference for smaller families or delayed marriages, along with economic pressures such as the rising costs of living. This shrinking population weakened Rome's ability to sustain its military and maintain a robust workforce, contributing to the empire's overall decline. The US faces similar demographic challenges, with declining birth rates and changes in family structure, such as an increase in single-person households, delayed marriages, and a preference for having fewer children. Factors contributing to these trends include economic pressure like student debt, high housing costs, and the rising expense of childcare, as well as a shifting cultural attitude towards parenthood and career priorities. This demographic shift poses long-term economic and social challenges, including shrinking labor force, increased strain on social security and healthcare systems due to an aging population, and potential difficulties in sustaining economic growth. The reduction in younger generations may also impact innovation and productivity, affecting the country's global competitiveness for years to come. Rome's infrastructure, including roads, aqueducts, and public buildings, fell into disrepair as the empire struggled to maintain its vast territories. This decline in public works contributed to urban decay and a loss of public confidence. America's infrastructure has been deteriorating with crumbling roads, bridges, and outdated public systems. This decay affects economic efficiency and public safety, similar to how Rome's decaying infrastructure symbolized broader societal decline. Now, I don't necessarily think this is the biggest issue, and it's more of a consequence of the main issues, but it's still a good comparison as you can see the similarities. Rome experienced numerous internal conflicts and power struggles amongst rival factions, This infighting and a lack of unity overall weakened Rome's ability to defend itself and maintain internal stability. Public trust in Roman institutions declined as leaders became increasingly corrupt and ineffective. The lack of faith in the emperor and the Senate contributed to Rome's inability to address its internal and external challenges. This polarization eventually led to the multiple civil wars during the crisis of the 3rd century. This period was marked by frequent changes in leadership, with numerous military generals just seizing power, resulting in widespread internal conflict, economic collapse, and the division of the empire into rival factions, significantly weakening the Roman Empire. Rome was no longer an expanding power, but it was catabolically eating itself from the inside. America is currently highly polarized, with deep divisions along political, racial, and economic lines. This internal strife weakens national unity and makes collective action difficult, mirroring the infighting that plagued Rome. Trust in American institutions, government, media, and even the military has eroded significantly. American politics has reached a point almost like the WWE, the Wrestling Federation, where people know it's fake and they watch it for entertainment purposes rather than to actually gauge what's going on. This is now American politics. Elections have become a choice between a narcissist and an NPC who opens her mouth and a corporation like Apple, Amazon, or BlackRock speaks through them, telling them what to say. Voter turnout in the US is often low and political apathy is widespread, with many citizens feeling disillusioned with the political process. Voting feels like choosing the lesser of two evils instead of what it actually should be. American democracy has been eroded and replaced by a corrupt oligarchy that is only in it for themselves. This loss of faith makes it difficult to unite and solve national issues, as the politicians don't even address the issues other than to use them as sound bites to get votes. Okay, so this point kind of continues from the previous point. Corruption was rampant in the later years of the Roman Empire. Emperors were often installed or removed based on bribes, political intrigue, and military force rather than merit. This inefficiency and corruption weakened the state's ability to respond to crisis and maintain order. The United States was founded as a democracy on the principles that every citizen had freedom, apart from the slaves. Even as an Englishman, I have to admit that the Declaration of Independence and the US Constitution are works of political mastery. But I look at what the US politics has become today, and honestly, it's a joke. Nancy Pelosi uses insider information to amass personal fortune on the stock market, allegedly, which is illegal, by the way, but who is going to arrest her? Then you have the rise, and I've mentioned it before, of NPC career politicians who are basically empty vessels who will say and do anything that their corporate overlords tell them to do, so long as they get to sit in the big boy chair and get their money.
Oh my God, you don't have any experience at all.
Nope.
You're just some kind of yes man.
Yes, man.
The days of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and John F. Kennedy are done. Choosing between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is like choosing between being punched in the face or kicked where it hurts. As Roman citizens lost interest in military service, the empire increasingly relied on mercenaries, often from foreign origin, whose loyalty was questionable at best. The Romans began to heavily rely on these foreign mercenaries during the late Roman Empire, particularly from the 4th century AD onwards. This shift became pronounced during the reign of Emperor Constantine in the early 4th century and continued throughout the 5th century as the Western Roman Empire faced increased pressure from internal strife and external invasions. The Romans increasingly recruited Germanic tribes, Huns, and other non-Roman groups as the mercenaries to bolster their armies, marking a significant reliance on foreign soldiers. This reliance weakened military effectiveness, loyalty, and led to vulnerabilities. While not directly using militaries per se, the US heavily relies on private military contractors like Blackwater, as well as allied forces such as the UK, France, and Israel to do their bidding. This outsourcing of military functions can pose risks if loyalty and accountability are compromised. As Tim Kennedy, who works as a recruiter for the US military, has mentioned on Joe Rogan, that it's becoming increasingly difficult to get American youths into the military for a variety of different reasons. Over time, this could lead to America outsourcing more military operations to private military contractors, allied nations such as Britain, or an over-reliance on technology such as drones. So expanding on the military, the Roman Empire was stretched thin by relentless military campaigns on multiple fronts, battling invasions from Germanic tribes, Persians, and internal revolts. Keeping vast borders secure drained resources, stretched the military to breaking points, and hammered the economy. The empire's overextended military couldn't keep up, leaving key areas exposed, particularly in Germania, and unable to fend off new threats, ultimately contributing to Rome's downfall as it could no longer sustain its crumbling defences. The United States has always loved a random military quagmire for no apparent reason whatsoever. I mean, just look at Vietnam. But in recent years, it seems the US cannot help themselves from invading any area that has natural resources and an unstable government. This is obviously done in the name of freedom, but North Korea doesn't seem to have enough money or natural resources to warrant military intervention and freedom. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have cost trillions of dollars. And let's not ignore the fact that Afghanistan is the world's largest producer of opium, surely just a coincidence. The constant cycle of costly, endless wars puts a massive strain on America's finances, echoing Rome's own reckless overreach that helped drive its collapse. Mass migration played a significant role in the decline of the Roman Empire. The groundwork for mass migration came in 1212 AD under the Edicts of Caracalla, when, in an effort to increase tax revenue throughout the empire, Emperor Caracalla granted Roman citizenship to nearly all free inhabitants within the empire. This diluted the exclusivity of Roman citizenship, making it easier for diverse groups within the empire to identify as Romans, which later facilitated mass migrations during the 4th and 5th centuries as external tribes sought inclusion, protection, and opportunities within Rome's borders. Waves of migration from Germanic tribes, Goths, and Huns into Roman territory were driven by various factors, including pressure from other migrating groups, climate change, and the allure of Rome's wealth. The influx of these new groups put immense pressure on Roman resources as the empire struggled to integrate large numbers of non-Roman people. Many of these migrants were initially welcomed as settlers or mercenaries, but as their numbers grew, it became increasingly difficult to maintain social cohesion and control. Some groups, like the Visigoths, even turned against Rome, famously sacking the city in 410 AD. This large-scale movement of peoples disrupted Roman society, contributing to economic strain, military vulnerabilities, and a breakdown of Roman cultural identity. The US has experienced significant levels of migration in recent years, both legal and illegal, which has sparked heated debates about economic, social, and cultural impacts. While immigration has historically been a cornerstone of American growth and diversity, the recent scale and pace of migration has raised concerns about integration, social cohesion, and the strain on public services. Large numbers of immigrants, particularly from Central and South America, have impacted labour markets, often filling low-wage jobs that native workers are less willing to take. However, this influx has also led to tensions in communities, political polarisation, and debates over national identity, echoing some of the social strains seen in late Roman society. The challenges of mass migration in the US mirror Rome's experience in highlighting how large-scale movements of people, when not well managed, can contribute to societal fragmentation, economic pressures, and a sense of declining national unity. As Rome was crumbling, one might expect that its citizens would rally to address the issues threatening their society. However, the reality was quite the opposite. As the empire declined over time, civic responsibility and public morality eroded significantly. Citizens of Rome increasingly indulged in personal pleasure, luxury, and hedonism, neglecting the broader needs of the state. Social cohesion disintegrated as activities like lavish parties, orgies, vomitariums, and excesses became rampant. Even Emperor Elagabalus, who I've previously done a video on, one of Rome's most notorious rulers, famously neglected his duties in favour of scandalous behaviour, openly prostituting himself, yep, it's all in the video, rather than governing his empire. While Rome's moral decline in the 3rd and 4th century onwards was alarming, modern America faces similar, if not significantly more troubling challenges. Entire communities are plagued by the widespread abuse of drugs like fentanyl, often ignored by law enforcement, while focus shifts to policing speech and minor social infractions. Cultural values have shifted, with mainstream media promoting figures whose messages are often contradicting traditional values of responsibility and self-restraint. Artists who glorify provocative behaviour and materialism, such as Cardi B, are elevated as role models, while traditional family structures and virtues are increasingly dismissed as outdated or even oppressive. This shift reflects a broader erosion of civic virtue and public morality, with many people appearing disengaged from the values that once held American society together. Another point that often doesn't get talked about enough: both the Roman Empire and the United States have experienced periods of declining traditional masculine values, contributing to societal decline. In the latter years of the Roman Empire, traditional Roman ideals of masculinity, such as duty, discipline, and martial prowess, began to wane. Roman men increasingly avoided military service, which was once considered to be the pinnacle of Roman virtue and citizenship for men. The cultural shift towards luxury, decadence, and self-indulgence meant less emphasis on the stoic martial value that had built the empire. This erosion of traditional masculinity contributed to a weakening of Rome's military capabilities and social cohesion, as fewer men were willing or able to defend the empire or uphold its founding principles. The US is currently going through a masculinity crisis, worse than what Rome had. This can be reflected in the media. Hollywood movies used to portray alpha male types like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Although these were movies and obviously not real life, it's reflected the masculine standard of the day. Today, there is a cultural shift towards redefining masculinity as a softer and more passive, often celebrating emotional vulnerability at the expense of traditional virtues like courage and responsibility. This shift has often left men without a clear sense of purpose. I mean, can you imagine how long these US college students would last in the Old West just a few hundred years ago? Good luck explaining to a Cherokee warrior that scalping you would hurt your feelings and that it's actually patriarchal that they don't have any strong female leaders in their tribe. So, the final point. During Rome's decline, the politicians focused on keeping the population distracted instead of fixing the actual underlying issues that the society was facing at the time. Roman leaders offered free grain and speculator games. This bread and circus approach masked deeper problems but didn't address underlying societal decay. They discovered that if they just continued to reap personal rewards from the bloated corpse of an empire, and the citizens would not kick off as long as they were fed and distracted by spectacles. In the US, entertainment often overshadows substantive issues, with a focus on reality TV, social media, and consumerism, drawing public attention away from critical topics like political reform. For example, the TV show Keeping Up with the Kardashians and The Bachelor dominate airtime and social conversations, emphasizing celebrity culture and personal drama over meaningful discourse. Now, do you remember the point that I made earlier about Nancy Pelosi? How many people in modern America do you think even know who Nancy Pelosi is? But how many of them know who Kim Kardashian is? Is that not a little bit worrying? Social media platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter frequently prioritize viral content, trends, and influencer lifestyle, contributing to a cycle of superficial engagement. Meanwhile, consumerism is fueled by constant advertising and the latest tech gadgets or fashion trends, diverting focus from deeper societal challenges. This focus on entertainment and dummification creates a culture where the latest celebrity gossip or viral video can overshadow pressing issues that require public attention and an informed debate. The decline of the Roman Empire was not due to a single catastrophic event, but rather a complex web of interconnected issues that eroded its strength from within. The same can be said for the United States today, where economic instability, political corruption, social division, and other familiar problems mirror those that once brought Rome to its knees. Whilst history does not repeat itself exactly, it often rhymes. And the fall of Rome serves as a stark reminder of how even the greatest societies and empires can crumble when the warning signs are ignored.
Trapped us in their prison in Roblox. That's right. We are trapped in this Roblox game and have to find a way to escape. We had a blast playing this game and then even revealed some crazy secrets.
Will America heed the lessons of the past, or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for the once great nation? As we reflect on these parallels, it's clear that the fate of a nation is not set in stone, but the choices we make today will determine the history of tomorrow. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the United States is heading down the same paths as Rome, or can we change course? Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring history. Thank you very much. Have a great day.